Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's show, we're going to be talking all about the upcoming European launch. We'll also be talking about Shop Class, a couple of other movies and stuff that are currently in production. But before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube or also on the audio platforms as well to keep up with the latest episodes. Feel free as well if you're on iTunes for giving us some reviews. We did have a fantastic 5-star review this week. Apparently we're knowledgeable about Disney Plus, which I'm glad we are. Also a big thank you to our Patreons as well. So a big thank you to Andrew, Giuseppe, Russell, Julie, and also What's on Netflix, and also Jan. So a big thank you to all of your support. Really does make a big difference in how this podcast is sort of separate from YouTube. So all the issues with YouTube do not affect it. So nevertheless, let's jump into some of the news, which the big one really was for the European market. They have moved up the date a week. So now it's going to be launching on March the 24th in the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Austria, and Switzerland. They also confirmed the price is going to be £5.99 or €6.99 per month, which is the same as what it is in the Netherlands. Or it'll be £59.99 in pounds or £69.99 for an annual subscription, which I think works out about $8 a month, which is, on par with, I think, the US with like tax and stuff. It's also going to be coming to Belgium, the Nordic countries. So, I'm guessing they're like sort of Sweden, Norway, and Finland, and Portugal will be following in the summer of 2020. No details yet on other areas or anything like that, and other countries such as Poland, Czech Republic, etc. But it is coming to a big chunk of Europe on that date. And obviously that means we're going to have access to all of the Disney Plus originals like High School Musical, the series, The Mandalorian, etc. It's going to be pretty much, again, it'll be available on all the different apps as per it already is in the US. But jumps forward a week, which is great. Also had a little bit more confirmation today that Disney Life will be coming Disney Plus. They've already kind of said this, but now when you actually go this morning, when you go on to Disney Life's website, it now does actually state that it's going to be coming Disney Plus from March 24th. And I even had an email just before we started recording telling us that as well, because that's currently $4.99 a month. So that'll be going up to $5.99 a month when Disney Plus kicks in. And we will lose access to the books, the audio, the music, because there's lots of albums and stuff in there. So that'll all be changing up of what's going on, which is a bit of disappointment because I did actually use Disney Life a lot more for the audio than for the actual movie side of things. But hopefully as well we don't lose too much in the flip over, because there's actually quite a bit of stuff that's not available on Disney Plus that's already on Disney Life, and there's actually a big chunk. All the Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic stuff obviously isn't on Disney Life already. But kind of odd in that it's that thing of, it's the thing of, I've been a Disney Life subscriber for years, so that it must be 3 years or so. So it's kind of nice to see this finally being cut off at the head and be replaced with something that will actually work on my devices. Because it had literally Disney Life. They didn't put on the consoles. They didn't put on hardly any smart TVs. So all my devices didn't have it. I had to go buy a Fire Stick just to get Disney Life, and that's the only reason I brought it, was because it was like 20 quid on Black Friday, because I got fed up plugging it into my phone. But great to see this for the European market. Shame they haven't announced more dates, but again, I'm expecting other regions like Middle East, Asia, Africa, Latin America. They'll get this out the way, and then they'll move on to the next launch. I wouldn't even be at all surprised. We've got a financial call coming up, I think the first week of February. They start revealing some details then, because otherwise we're going to be pushing it into May, June. So it might be a bit, they might want to get that information out a bit earlier, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if they did this move now to kind of push that, and then in 2 weeks' time we get more of the international launch. But great news for Europe.
Yeah, we can't complain too much. Anytime that they move up the timeline, it's always a good thing. And like you said, if they're moving the timeline up in Europe, it hopefully means that they're also moving the timeline up in the other countries, and we'll hopefully, I'm saying that a lot at the moment, hopefully find out more in the near future. Uh, yeah, it's good news. It would be better if it was even sooner,
Yes,
but
yes.
it's still good news, and I'm happy that more people will have a chance to see Baby Yoda
Yeah,
legally or without a VPN.
yeah. Well, this is the thing, because I mean, to be honest, this is a perfect example of, like, for example, in my group for where we all play Star Wars miniature games, right? So there's a few of us that have seen The Mandalorian already. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think they did this. I don't think they did the VPN system the same way I did. I think they found it through Jack Sparrow's methods, and that's the kind of thing of, like, they've already watched it, and that's the thing of, I know at least 5 or 6 people that have done that already. So this is the risk they took, and I'll be really honest. You delay something by 5 months to some people, and even longer in other areas. You opened it up. This is ultimately what it is. But I'm really glad that it's going to be running properly. I'm really glad as well when it runs and I can run it natively on my TV and on my consoles, and just in general, it's going to be easier. And I've already got Disney Life, so it's literally just switching it over. But I think it's just great. I mean, the fact that it's moved forward a week, I would have liked it if it moved forward a month, I would be honest. But nevertheless, a week move is good. I think moving it away from the last day of the month is never a bad thing as well. But yeah, there's no offers, there's no promotions, they're not doing any of that. And I'm not surprised, because they didn't do it for any other country except for the US. They went really heavy on the US audience, because I think that was their, like, 80-90% of the audience. The rest of the world, they don't seem to be worried about it. So I know a lot of people have already been asking, can we sign up already? It's like, there's no need. There's literally no need. And I would actually say, if you can, might as well just sign up for Disney Life now and enjoy all the library content for 6 to 8 weeks, because it's changing over anyway, and you'll be charged. So you might as well enjoy it in the meantime. There's all the classic Disney Channel stuff is all on there. So if you're thinking of it now, just sign up for Disney Life. That would be my thing. But yeah, good news for the European market.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't what's on Disney Life. This is what's on Disney Plus.
Well, Disney Life is Disney Plus.
It really is.
Every time I would put up an article, people go, "This isn't Disney Life." It's like Disney Plus. It's like, yeah, it is.
It's the precursor.
This is, if we didn't have Disney Life and we didn't have all the problems with Disney Life, nobody else would have had Disney Plus. They've been running it as us as guinea pigs for the last 3 years. If you look at the
it's more like it would have taken longer. I mean,
Yes.
obviously, it's not. It would never have happened. But
they used all the data from Disney Life to really, like, build out Disney Plus, because if you actually look at the way the app is set up, it's pretty much very, very similar. There's one thing that they did, because Disney Life had a thing of, you had albums, games, music, and you had books as well, and you also had live streaming of like the Disney Channel stuff. So they're actually, in some ways, they are taking away a number of functionalities to go into Disney Plus. But what they found was, through the data, was that pretty much everyone was just streaming the movies and the TV shows, and the other content just was not happening. Originally as well, Disney Life launched at $9.99 a month and included mobile games, and you got a free mobile game every month to build up your out. Within months, they dropped the price and dropped it by half, which, and let's be honest. And then I think they got up to 1 million subscribers, I think, in the UK. Slowly dipped off, because the trouble is they didn't really have any exclusives. Everything was 2 to 3 years late because it wasn't on Sky, so there wasn't really any, like, big push for it. But I think that whole thing about the pricing point, they learned from Disney Plus for Disney Life, of dropping the price down to a decent level, and they got so many more subscribers, and that was probably a key thing that they learned from it. And also just all the other stuff they put on it, the data shows that wasn't what they were using. But yeah, so it's good that that's definitely coming in. I mean, Disney Life also launched in China years ago at the same time, but they had to get pulled because the Chinese government it had to be in partnership. And they also have Disney Life in the Philippines, but there's been no kind of information running through on what they're doing with the Philippines version yet. I suspect once it launches there, they'll do the same thing. But that's kind of the global side of things, because I know that one of those things with the rest of the world of, different getting staged out and different countries are getting that. Obviously, they say it's coming to this country, another country goes, where is it for us? So this is the thing with the internet. It's great.
I'm still waiting for the Antarctica launch.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it is. I mean, I will say this about generally, I think this is a good thing just to bring up right now is about traveling. If you are traveling and if you're going to another country, if it already has Disney Plus, you'll be able to log in with your username and password in whichever country you're going to. So if you're in America and you are coming to, for example, Australia, right now, you can sign into your Disney Plus account when you get to Australia. You'll only have access to what is available in Australia's servers. You don't get access to what's in America. Works. That's great. However, if you go to, for example, if you come to the UK at the moment, you won't be able to get in. You try to log in and it won't let you in. So because of that, there has been a lot of people going on holiday, I think, over the Christmas period and stuff, and people go, I'm paying for this, I can't access it, why not, etc. It does state in the FAQs how that's all working. So you can download content. So if you are going, say you're going to Mexico for the weekend and you want to watch some stuff, hit the download option, and you got about a week or so to watch it before it will kind of try and trigger that it needs the license. So just be aware of that. Once it launches in these countries, you'll be able to access it everywhere. But it's going to be a 2-year kind of rollout of going along. Alternatively, if you use a VPN, you can then get around and say where you are. I know, like, especially like with military people, like I know I've had lots of messages from the US military, like complaining about not being able to access it, and that they should be able to have it. And it's like technology-wise of having that account can get in and that account can't. Yeah, I think their idea essentially is to have it everywhere, so it wouldn't really be an issue. But unfortunately, at the minute, if you're like military or maybe you're working overseas, because I know some people that are like working in China and stuff, and they have access it, they use a VPN. Again, VPNs aren't illegal, depending on where you are, and accessing it. It's all terms and services. It's like the whole thing of there is a lot of reasons to use one. Personally, as well, of if you're a subscriber and you've gone to Mexico for 2 weeks on vacation and you want to access something that you're paying for all the time, Disney aren't chasing you down for that. They're not worried about that because you're still an active subscriber. But just be aware, if you are leaving different countries and stuff, it won't be available until it launches there. So yeah. The other thing is in Europe, if you're in the Netherlands and you have it registered to your a proper address with your credit card, you could then use it in all of the European countries because of the European laws, even though if you were in that country, you wouldn't be able to get access to it. It was very complicated, but hopefully this European launch will kind of start clearing it all up because of our European rules or something like that. But nevertheless, British people going into European rules, never a good start to get into a conversation with. Right. Okay, moving on from there, let's jump into some other news. We've got some new information on a new series coming to Disney Plus called Shop Class. This one is going to be coming to Disney Plus on February the 28th. It stars Justin Long, who starred in Dodgeball and Live Free or Die Hard. He will be presenting it along with being an executive producer. And this show will feature teams and young builders tasked with building, designing, and testing unique creations in each episode, with a panel of experts that will evaluate and test the team's work based on their creativity and functionality, with the last team standing declared champions. This is going to be coming on the last day of the month. We don't know yet how many episodes or trailer stuff, but as of time of recording, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there's a trailer drop between when we record this and it comes out, because anytime one of the trades announce it, it's very soon afterwards kind of revealed. But Shop Class, what did you think of that, the idea of this one?
I think it's a good idea. It's a pretty straightforward concept, pretty easy to film, and anything that's creative has an interesting base to begin with, because it's always fun to see what people can come up with, especially when they're just kind of like, here's a bunch of material, build something out of it, because you never know what's going to happen with it.
No, I mean, I kind of think like with this is like shows like the Great British Bake Off, the Great British Sewing Bee, um, there's a whole load of these different ones we've seen over the years of people kind of creating different bits and pieces. I think that kind of works well. I'm kind of going to guess it's very similar to that. Where there's even like a Lego show as well that we have over here. I think they've launched it in the US as well, where they all have to have like challenges and stuff. Great idea. I think this is a very easy TV, and we did hear about this like last year at last April. But I'll be honest, I'd completely forgotten about this series. I don't think it's kind of thing of it's not one of those series that's going to pull in subscribers, but it will keep people entertained when you are subscribers. The other thing as well, I'll be honest, Shop Class, not a very good international name because we don't call it Shop Class outside of America. So
Honestly,
yeah,
it's not a common name in America too. I think most Americans know what it means when you say
yeah,
shop class, but it's not, like, oh yeah, I've got it, it's not part of the standard curriculum. You do have to like seek it out.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, whether you're talking European or American, they
yeah.
probably could, pun intended, workshop a better name for it.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think we have like CBT or all kinds of different like design and technology departments, trying to make it sound a little bit more better than it is. But we're gonna have to wait and see on this one. Good again that we've got a new Disney Plus original launching in February. We definitely need some stuff because this week is it's odd because we've got to the point of 3 shows end this week. We're losing Pick of the Litter, Encore, and World According to Jeff Goldblum, which is like, whoa, okay, so like what have we got? And I'm thinking, okay, so next week we've got, the Diary of a Future President, Marvel Hero Project, and I'm like, okay, and One Day at Disney. I know next week we are getting the Lava Lamp, not Lava Lamp, Lamp Life short with Bo Peep. So we have got a short next week, and obviously next week we've got The Lion King as well hitting Disney Plus. But yeah, we need to see what's coming up. I'm expecting again between the time of us recording this and when this episode goes out, there will be a lot of new information coming out about what's coming up in the weeks ahead because usually that's how it always works.
Yeah.
The minute you stop recording, that's when you get it all coming. It was funny. It's like yesterday morning, I'm sat there going, okay, what news have we got? It's like, and then suddenly had all these press releases coming in, all I'm like about the European launch. I'm going, whoa, we don't normally get. Normally, I have to work on American time schedule of like when all the US press releases go out. Like, whoa, we got one at 7:30 in the morning. That's not very normal. But yeah, Shop Class looks good. We'll just have to see what this one goes. I think it's probably a nice fill in for maybe the World According to Jeff Goldblum. See how that one goes on, but. Yeah, it won't pull anybody in, but it's nice to have some content. Other information on some upcoming stuff coming to Disney Plus. The new Disney Plus series based on Turner and Hooch is set to go into production on April the 27th and will be filming in Vancouver, Canada. And 20th Century Television will be producing the series, and it's based on the classic like 1980s movie. Which is a cop and a dog. So we don't officially know any details on Turner and Hooch, but again, we're starting to see all these things going into production. Cheaper by the Dozen 2, sorry, not Cheaper by the Dozen reboot, I should say. That's also set to go into filming in Los Angeles on July the 13th. And this reboot will be directed and produced by Gail Lerner, who has been behind the ABC show Blackish. Again, 20th Century Fox are doing this one by the looks of it. So we're seeing all these kind of different things of them getting into what they're doing. But nice to have information on those two starting to crawl out.
Yeah, lots of stuff coming out.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about this Cheaper by the Dozen. I never saw the movies, the originals, but I did read the book back in the day. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting concept. I don't know how well it translates to modern audiences, but we'll see how they do.
I actually think it could work very well. I don't know. I think at the minute it's still a movie, but the last one was like 17 years ago, and
Was it
while
that long ago?
yeah,
Wow.
2003, I think it was. So while that doesn't sound very long, there's been a how change obviously in how kids are and what they do and all the technology and stuff, and it really, yeah. I think 17, 20 years is it's not like it's like it was only made like 5 years ago. I think in everyone's minds it's a lot newer than it actually is. But you know, I
2003 doesn't sound that long ago until you do the math in your head. It's like, yeah, that was a while ago.
yes, it's like when they have members of staff and they tell you they're born in 2001. You go, no, that was last year. No, they're 80.
Well, speaking of some blasts from the past, we got another one popping in there, which is National Treasure coming back.
Yes, I love those shows. I love those two movies. I really enjoyed them. As a non-American, right? So this is the thing. So apparently, it's been in production. They've been working on this for years, but and apparently now it's kind of moving forward. One of the writers recently kind of was talking about it, but I love the idea of them doing another one because I'll be right. So I went to Washington D.C. on vacation. We went there. We were on like a day trip there. This was probably about 15 years ago. So I went and saw. I went around. We were going around the mall kind of thing, and then I go, right. Let's go into. I said I want to go into. I think the library or something because I want to have a look at the what was it the Declaration of Independence. And I will be honest, I only knew it was there and what it was because of National Treasure. I never. It was like a thing of, everyone is like looking at it and go, "Oh, this was in the movie."
Do they not teach you at all about the rebellion of the American states?
Not a lot. No, it's not on our curriculum.
I mean, I can understand that you've got you've got a 1,000-something years of history there, and
we've got Romans and Tudors, and
yeah. So for England, of course, it's one little blip in the history books, but still, it's like
they don't want to talk about their ex maybe at school. I don't know. It's that kind of thing of, again, this is what we were talking about on last week's show of like, all your things like, was it Pecos Bill and all the rest of it. This kind of stuff, American history. They might do more of it now, but most of it is learned through movies and television. Again, every country has their own history that they need to teach and all the rest of it. And generally, we've, especially here, we've got so much history. I'm literally 5 miles from a Roman building, that was built 2,000 years ago. And, we've got so much history that the American bit doesn't quite, and there's also so much more stuff that's happened since then. But yeah, American history is not quite as big the rest of the world. We don't know. That's the thing sometimes, again, what I was talking about last week, of America kind of sometimes tends to assume the international audience knows what it's talking about. And it's like, no, we don't. Things like Alamo, I only learned through the movie. I'd never heard of that until, I remember going there and we went down to San Antonio and we went into the Alamo and I'm like, oh, what's this all about? It's like you didn't know what it was till we're there. And it's
and that's going to be true for every nation.
Yeah.
America is going to be American centric. England's going to be English centric. France is going to be French centric, etc. In case anyone is very confused at the moment, we talk about Pecos Bill in a special episode.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, it's coming out on Sunday.
That'll be part of the Patreon subscribers. I think already have it,
yes,
and then everyone else will be getting it this weekend.
Yeah.
If you're wondering when did we talk about Pecos Bill, that is when we talked about Pecos Bill.
Yes. So we're talking in the past about the future, but nevertheless, it's I think National Treasure, I think it's good. I mean, I love Nick Cage movies. I think I've always liked his movies and stuff. So I'm full on board. I think Jerry Bruckheimer again back on board to do this one. Don't know yet now if it's going to be a Disney Plus movie or if it'll be a full feature movie. I can't imagine now his fees are as high as they were when they made the first ones, but they were big successes. They pulled in, I think, nearly just short of $1 billion at the box office between the two movies. So I think this has got legs, but we'll just have to wait and see which way it goes.
I expect it'll be in theaters. I mean, assuming Nicolas Cage is still attached to it, I assume it'll be in theaters. Whether or not his name is a big draw anymore doesn't really matter. People will remember the franchise.
Yeah.
And I think there's enough positive nostalgia for National Treasure 1 and 2 that they can get away with it so long as they can bring some of that original cast back.
Yeah, I think that's it. They're going to need the three of them back properly to do it. And yeah, I mean, none of them really have kind of moved on to be anything massive in terms of sort of like I wouldn't imagine they're too expensive. It's not like suddenly if you tried bringing back a movie from the past, and suddenly it's got all the big actors in and you can't afford them. But yeah, I think it's good. I mean, again, I'm a big National Treasure fan. The first one isn't yet available on Disney Plus. I think it's going to be available later this year. It is available in all the other countries, so if you're so you can watch it there. But National Treasure 2 is available globally. There's always that weird thing of like whenever it's like one of our team, Josh, put up a great article of like 300 movies that are missing from Disney Plus.
That was a great list. Actually, it was very helpful.
It was, and then if you see the comments and the emails and stuff that come in, because obviously he was saying, like, if there's any more, then let me know, and we're going to update it. We think it's going to be over 400 when we do the update to this, because there is so much stuff missing, so much obscure stuff that you're trying to remember and stuff. But and then again, there's a load of stuff on that list that you're there going, that's available in this country, that's available, that's not. Again, it's just contracts is such a hard thing, and it actually shows you as well of like what is missing. Of that drip feed effect can help Disney kind of fill in for years to come. I know there's a load of people expecting all of this on day one, but there's a big collection of stuff, and there's also reasons why stuff can't happen. Literally, me and the mods were just talking about Marsupial. It was like a French animated series from years ago, and apparently the creator ended up taking Disney to court, and there was a whole issues of Disney not fulfilling its side of the bargain, and so instead of making a series, it made a load of shorts and things like that. Now ended up, there's a whole legal issue about that series, so things like that might not even be able to come to the system, even though it is Disney, because there's been other external influences. There's been pay disputes over certain shows, and it's just it's such a complicated system. And I think a lot of people really aren't, obviously, they're not aware of this stuff, because they see that Disney advert and it shows all these different characters, and Disney are very good in the fact that those adverts include all the ones that are on it. But people assume when they see that, they add their own things in their minds and assume stuff's going to be there. I mean, the amount of people I've seen that have like saying like, well, why is not, Falcon and the Winter Soldier and all this stuff? Where are they all? They should all be here for launch. Like, no, you heard one thing and jumped onto another thing. And that's, I mean, trying to manage expectations, it's so hard. I mean, I'll be honest, Disney have dropped the ball of not having so much that we right now are really in a lull of like not having anything to fill the gap. But yeah, there's the assumptions of so much stuff about where all this stuff is. In some ways, I wish Disney did actually put more of the stuff that's coming soon and put dates on it if they could. But they can't do that for everything.
Yeah. So first, I think it's Marsupilami was the
Yeah.
name of the show. I never watched it, but I forgot about it until you just mentioned it a few moments ago. And second, yeah, a lot of this problem would be solved with communication. I think this is going to be the talking point for the next several months of just tell us stuff, Disney, please.
Yeah, it's always a tricky one, because they've covered the basic. I think they've covered the major ones, but I think the trouble is there's so much stuff coming in. And I really think it depends on what they are doing with 20th Century Studios, of where I've got to get used to trying saying that, of sort of where they're putting them, of whether or not which side of the fence on Hulu or Disney Plus they're going to put them. But yeah, I understand the Fox side is so much more complicated than their own side, but hopefully, again, we should hope. I would imagine we're going to know what's going to be coming in February and stuff. But nevertheless, let's move on to some other bits and pieces. Just want to jump in to some of the new content that's coming up this coming Friday, which will have come out yesterday for you guys, was the Short Circuit film collection. There was 14 shorts added. These are all part of Walt Disney Animation Studios project, where they will support fellow artists, and the goal is to take risks, surface new and diverse storytelling voices within the studio, and to experiment with new innovation within the filmmaking process. Interesting that we're getting all 14 of them all at once. They're not pulling the sort of dropping them bit by bit, which I think these are going to be much shorter anyway. But yeah, we're going to go through these in a lot more detail next week when we've seen them all, but we're 14 of them. There's going to be some there that are good, some that are maybe not, but I'm really kind of interested in where they go with this one. I am surprised they didn't like slow drop them out, because that would have been a little bit more content.
Maybe they're testing it out for shorter content because there's a bit less excitement for waiting week to week for the 3-minute Forky ask a question short, or the 4-minute
Yeah.
one day at Disney short. Even things like the Pixar shorts that we got, like Kit Bull and whatnot, that having them spread out kind of doesn't work as well as, say, The Mandalorian or High School the Musical. That said, the list of short stories that we're getting out is just all over the board in terms of plot and ideas. So the chances are there will be something that everybody enjoys in this batch. I'm just looking at a couple of descriptions. I can already pick out 3 that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting idea. I want to check that one out. Obviously, if they're short enough, I'm just going to check them all out and we'll talk about them. But I think that most people will find at least a few that they can go.
I mean, that's
enjoy.
The thing. I mean, 14 shorts, but if they're only 2 minutes a piece, it means it's only going to take you half an hour to plow through the entire lot. So we're just going to have to see. And like I said, we'll talk through all of our bits and pieces on them next week. But yeah, I think it's definitely telling that they're going to do it this way. And yeah, I'm just interested to see where they go with all of this, and just trying to work it all out. But it's kind of like, it feels like an end. It almost feels like the end of the month in terms of content, but no, we've still got another Friday yet to drop in the rest of the month. But yeah, the only thing that gets me is the name. Every time I put an article up about this, there's so many people confused, thinking Johnny Five is coming.
I wish Johnny Five would come back, honestly. Johnny Five was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So many people, it's just like, that's what they called it. I can't change the name. It's not my fault. But yeah, so that's definitely a big one. Again, looking here at some other things from around this news of the week. Australia launched this program called a Disney DNA test, right? A Disney Plus DNA test, and they got a number of Australian celebrities to show off Disney Plus as like a promotional thing. And you go onto the website and you put in your characteristics, and it kind of matches you up with a character, kind of basically like a more enhanced version of a BuzzFeed quiz. So they put this one in there. They've had a few different celebrities over there. Rove McManus, you've also got Ricky Lee Coulter, and also tennis champion Ash Bartley. Very focused on Australian audiences. The only reason I know of Rove is because I've spending 6 months traveling around Australia, so I know Ricky. So that's the only reason I know those characters, was because or those celebrities, was because of traveling there. I wouldn't have known about them had I not done that. But nice to see them doing this test. It wouldn't surprise me if they start rolling this out all over the place. But it's nice to see them kind of doing a little bit of self-promotion for Australia and getting that kind of people to sign up for that. And it's a fun little way of doing it. Whether or not it works or not, I don't know. But
it's advertising. It's, if they can get it to go viral on Facebook, your friend sends you the "I got Nemo."
Yeah.
Who do you get? We know that works.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. I mean, it's worth trying, at least. Even if this rolls out in America, I can't see myself clicking through on it. But
you sure you're not going to do it? You're going to want to know. It's like, I'm 70% Hulk.
No, because I'm going to end up with like, oh yeah, you're 80% Elsa. I'm like, wait, what? So no, I think I'm good. I've managed to avoid, even when I was on Facebook back in the day, I managed to avoid all those quizzes. I think I'm fine now.
Yeah, it's usually, it's always this thing. I'm just like, it's good fun stuff. Some news that kind of broke this week as well. Netflix officially announced that the Studio Ghibli movies are going to be coming to Netflix in every country in the world except for the United States, Canada, and Japan. It's going to be coming to HBO Max in the US, We had that announcement a few months ago. Now, this is always a bit of an odd one because I picked this story up that's going to be happening. And it always has that kind of weird reaction. First off, everyone that's not in America goes, "Why are you telling us this?" And then you get the other thing as well of going, "These aren't Disney movies," and it's like these were so many of these movies from Studio Ghibli were released in the US under like Disney. They were released with Walt Disney Presents. You look at the trailers, it will say Walt Disney Studios presents the Studio Ghibli movie, and all the DVDs have got it on there. So there's a big kind of weird like mix up with these movies, because in some countries as well outside of the US they aren't connected to Disney, but in other places they are, and then these kind of all mixed up with over the years of who owns it and stuff. I put it out there because this is kind of one of those things of like, okay, we get asked this all the time. Let's just be able to put this to rest now. It's like it's done. We know where they are, where they're going to be coming from. I think it's a big misstep that Disney didn't get into the negotiations, but I'm sure Netflix threw them a much bigger pile of money than Disney would have if Disney was even trying to get in on it. But big set of movies. There's quite a few here that I want to watch. The fact that they are coming to Netflix in the UK means I can actually watch some of these. There's a few. I've not seen all of them. I think I've only seen a couple of them, but there's definitely a few there that I want to watch. And now they're on Netflix. It's great for me. But like I said, in the US, they're going to be on HBO Max. Again, how this kind of, and there's like, this is the problem with streaming services. Even a brand new contract, they've managed to split the audience globally with a brand new contract. And this is one thing, it takes years for them to get out of. But nevertheless, at least now we know now that these movies are not coming to Disney Plus in the rest of the world, because that could have happened. That could so easily have this contract could have gone to Disney Plus if they paid enough, and it could have been everywhere else. But nice to know that they are now where they're going to be.
Yeah, and I'm still disappointed by it. I'll probably end up with an HBO Max account anyway, not for Ghibli, but just in general. But yeah, it's not just that they were Disney Presents Princess Mononoke, Disney Presents Spirited Away. Disney, or actually more specifically Pixar and John Lasseter, were instrumental in the localization efforts of them in America. They did all the casting for the American voice actors. They did the all of the recording. John Lasseter claims that he and Hayao Miyazaki are very close friends. So it's not like these were just snatched up by Disney and thrown out there into the wild. They actually put a lot of effort into them. So there is a basis for it, and it is disappointing that they didn't either they didn't win the contract or they didn't bid for it. I don't think we know. And yeah, the other thing is a lot of these movies, at least the ones that they listed here, because they left out some of the more mature movies like Grave of the Firefly. These movies are very Disney-esque. They were influenced very heavily by Disney. Hayao Miyazaki built a lot of these around Disney ideology from old school. So they would have fit in quite nicely on Disney Plus. That said, good for Netflix, good for HBO Max. I'm not sure where they're streaming in Japan, but obviously I'm sure the Japanese have it in a fairly accessible place. It is Ghibli is recognized as one of the major cultural influences in Japan.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's just, I think it's just good now that we've all kind of got that information of where it's all going to be. And again, Netflix released their information this week. They've still all their financial results. They're still going strong. They seem to be kind of buoyant to the Disney Plus launch. I think that the trouble with Netflix right now is they're kind of the thing of like every time something comes in, there's a little jab to Netflix. There's constantly kind of the comparing to them because they are the number one streaming service. They're the biggest. And while they are sitting there saying we're not gonna, all these streaming services are going to improve the amount of cord cutters, so everybody rises up. Because there is truth to that. Because if you've got a load of people that are cord cutting from satellite and cable, they go, oh, well, I need a Netflix, a Hulu, and a HBO, and a Disney Plus, and they all go up because of it. But there's going to be people jumping and switching. We see it a lot already with people cancelling Disney Plus because they're going to come back when, like, the Mandalorian or the Marvel shows kick back in, you're going to see this a lot of jumping in. I mean, even I've started doing that. I mean, we stopped Amazon Prime. We're going to kick that back up when Outlander starts next month for my wife. We are just, you're getting into that thing of, you are dropping in on off. I think Netflix is still in that position of people are used to paying for Netflix and kind of there's so much stuff on there. But as HBO Max and Peacock come in as well, you really are starting to see so much more different bits and pieces, pulling in on different aspects. I mean, Apple TV Plus, they announced a load of shows as well last weekend. They're all putting in a lot of money, a lot of effort, and ultimately it's going to take a few years for it all to shake out. But it is interesting. Disney Plus is still going up. I think it's not going to be as much of a hit really until Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think is going to be the big heavy hitter this summer. That will be the next, what I call the next wave of excitement. I don't think unless they've got something massive, but nothing like Star Wars or Marvels can pull in the mass numbers that offer Disney Plus.
No, if they would have to do something like, oh yeah, Black Widow is not coming to theaters. We're putting it directly on Disney Plus. That would be. They're not going to do that. Obviously, no. Please don't take that. But they would need to do something on that scale to kind of rock the boat before Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I do think we're going to see speeding up of movie releases. Like Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, recently got released on Blu-ray and DVD, and there was a little video that they put out during the Apple TV information coming out was that Maleficent 2 is now in the kind of coming soon bit. So that can't be too far off. I do think getting that on there a bit quicker is probably going to be a key thing. It's like Frozen 2. They just announced this week when it's coming to Blu-ray. They are not going to start saying about it coming to Disney Plus yet because that would cannibalize the Blu-ray sales. Is that thing? At the minute everyone sees it now, everyone was jumping in and going, well, what's the date for they aren't going to tell you because they don't want you waiting. They want you to go buy the Blu-ray. Disney is still in this like weird, mix of where everybody's kind of coming in. It was interesting though, because the other day I did look at some data between I think it was some Blu-ray and DVD sales and comparing from 10 years ago to now. So I think like Toy Story 4, when it came out in November, had sold 400 to 500,000 copies of discs in them in the US, right? Great. Compare that to 10 years ago with Up, which had been released the same week on 4 million. There was literally a naught has been knocked off over 10 years of the amount of home video releases within the first. And it's like, that is a big, big number of people dropping off buying content. And so while Disney is still pushing these movies because they know they'll get it, they do know at the same time that there's only so many that's going to go buy it.
Yeah, and we've seen this with all forms of media over time. It happened with MP3s and CDs back in the day. It still happens. It doesn't happen so much anymore, Kindles and books, although we've seen that, at least in that market, books have had a resurgent while digital books have kind of plateaued. Yeah. But we see it with that. And comics are in the same boat. They still have to support the retailers, the brick and mortar retailers. So we don't see a lot of, or like Marvel Unlimited or those services. They're 6, 7, 8 months behind. It's this balance that all these companies have to do, which is between the brick and mortar retailers or even Amazon, companies like that selling the physical product, and not annoying them because they still provide a sizable amount of income, and then also appeasing the people who have cut the cord, who don't want to own the DVD, but they still want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like video games as well. Like digital sales now are like equating to like maybe 80% of sales, and physical sales are just dropping year on year. So I think you are going to start seeing all of this kind of kicking in, but it's going to take a few more years for it to go in. But again, this is why Frozen 2, they're not going to give us that date, but I do think it's going to be I think we are going to be a lot quicker as it gets closer to it. But I think generally, if you're going to buy Frozen 2, you might do it already. But I would imagine there's a lot of fans going, oh, we got Disney Plus, it'll be on there. We'll just, and then they can play it. Because yeah.
It depends on how persistent the kids are. Like,
Yeah.
mommy, I want to see Frozen 2. Or if you can deflect them, well, we have Frozen 1 right here. Sing Let It Go again for the bajillionth time, and then just weather it out until it shows up on Disney Plus. I think that'll factor in quite a bit as well.
So a couple of other bits and pieces from National Geographic. We do know now that Gordon Ramsay Uncharted is going to be returning for a second season. We're starting on the National Geographic channel on May the 10th. So as with all of this stuff at the minute with Disney Plus, it'll go on the channel and it'll be released week to week. And then once it finishes on those networks, it then is eligible to be moved over to Disney Plus. There was a great, there was a tweet, I can't remember who it was from, but it was somebody within Disney about this whole thing of there's still like an internal struggle between the channels and Disney Plus being like separate divisions and how quickly stuff is coming on there. There's still, I think they will be sorting this out. You can see it coming a mile off that maybe not this year, but they're going to have to fix this because it's taking, they're losing all the time. I mean, there's this whole thing at the minute, like with the Owl House of it not being on Disney Plus. And I think, a lot of, there's confusion as well between someone was replying to it going, well, why? And they go, we'll watch it on Disney Now. And they go, yeah, but Disney Now's got nothing on it. I got Disney Plus. Why do I need the two apps? Sort it out, and it's like, yeah, it's a mess really with all of this. Same thing with Running Wild with Bear Grylls. That's going to be coming back for a second season. The first season is ending this week. So I'm really hoping, if it hasn't already been announced, that this is going to be coming to Disney Plus maybe in February or March, but hopefully we'll know by the time you hear this, because I'm really interested to see this series.
Anything new at this point. I'm down. I'm honestly waiting for the right stuff. So I'm hoping that by the time that comes out, they sort all this out and they're like, yeah, we'll put it out on the next day. That's what I'm holding out for.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. I think they're still clinging to it's like, obviously the networks and stuff, like when they did like the television press, they're not mentioning Disney Plus when they're talking about it. They're all still like I said, they kind of want their cake and they want to eat it. They kind of, it's like, oh, it's just library content. But when the majority of your customers are going to have this, you're going to have to start, you're losing interest in your own show because of how it works and stuff. But I think until Disney get there themselves, the fact, like I said last week, Comcast are doing this with Peacock, HBO Max are doing it with their shows, even Disney are doing it with ABC and FX, with Hulu. It just, now we're just left with this like weird thing. I think it would really help. It would really help Disney Plus if we knew this week that we had 5 new shows dropping on there. It just would boost up the reason of subscribing for so many. Because the trouble is when they do the whole season drop, it's maybe 4 to 6 months. If you're doing a 24 season series, it's nearly 7 months by the time it hits Disney Plus from when it comes out. So by the time all the press comes in and all the things before it's nearly maybe a year from when the hype was at its most to when it's on Disney Plus. It's just too long.
And we've also noticed and mentioned in the past, Disney Plus doesn't have a great mechanism in place to let you know when shows are coming out. So let's say you've got a show you want, the Owl House, we'll go with that. And you want to check it out. You don't have a cable package, so you can't see it on Disney Channel. And by the time it comes to Disney Plus, you've forgotten that you wanted to see this show. And there is nothing on Disney Plus reminding you, hey, Owl House, it was a hit show on the television. And you go, oh, yeah, I wanted to watch that. They don't have that unless you hit the banner just right, maybe. Yeah,
I think is that one thing is just having that recently added or something like that, or new on Disney. I don't know. They need to kind of definitely work on that because there is so much content coming on there, especially with the library content drip feeding. It's just like having a recently added and having the new episodes and stuff. It feels like such a no-brainer because it's the first thing we do when we go onto Netflix. Meanwhile, we go on a Friday. What's new? What's trending? What's new and what's trending, and see what the new stuff is. And We always do that. If we're trying to find something on Netflix that's new, you'd never find it.
No, never. Not absolutely. But it's more than that, though, too. Netflix actually has an API on their system, which lets programmers go out and poll their system and say, what's new, what's on tap, and then they can put it on a website like justwatch.com or something, or what's on Netflix, and they can just automatically do it, and they can post a list every Friday that says these are the new episodes that have come out on Netflix right here. They don't have to do any special work to do it, and it's available to everybody.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the big thing is where we get questions all the time going, like, say, like, there was like pick of the litter and stuff. They were like, "Well, how many is there another? When's the next episode dropping?" People still don't know that it's Friday is like the main day, because within the app, you're actually not really. You sometimes get the banner at the top, but if, say, it's like new episode of High School Musical, they might not necessarily be, new episode of Encore. They're not really publicizing that there's new. I mean, when I do it again, Channel 4, BBC, all these different apps that I use, the first thing I go into is the what's new section every single time. And I just think Disney is really missing that. Because like now, if you jumped in there today and you saw like Bluey is in there, you might watch it. It's a new Australian series about a dog. But if you didn't know it was coming, you might not even see it, and you might be scrolling through going, when was this added? It was added like 4 months ago, because you randomly found it. It's like that kind of thing really does need to be improved, but I don't know. It's hopefully at some point they do it. They've got to be listening to feedback and looking at all these different functions and stuff. But yeah, all right. I think that pretty much wraps up. I think that was everything on our list to talk about this week. Yeah. I think that was it.
That's all the major stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, there's smaller things. Marvel's MODOK got some casting done. We saw some pictures of the U.S. agent from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, et cetera, et cetera. But
it's just one of those things. Right. On that note, so we're gonna wrap this show up. So big thank you to for joining us again this week. Make sure I said you do go and subscribe on YouTube or on the audio platforms. You can also again support us over at Patreon as well. You can find us over at whatsondisneyplus.com. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you guys in another episode. Later.